like I'm glad that we are talking to folks and people are interested in the stuff that we're doing. How do we so it's great that we're doing it. How do we promote people that are already doing that cool stuff?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. Yeah, and there's a lot of people doing cool stuff
yeah.
centered on youth and like really interesting things and even interesting ways in which they do it. And sometimes people just like not want to, broadcast whatever for whatever reason. So, and they're still doing great work. Um,
I keep
but
seeing
maybe
you on
even
like Instagram with people doing great work, giving you
yeah,
shout outs. So
yeah.
like it sounds like once you because it sounds like you're constantly around people doing great work, right?
Yeah, and I think that's kind of been my like a lot of my role is to like I've been seeing people doing this stuff, and I've been like been wanting to like elevate their work. Like, yo, this is like amazing work, and like support it in whatever capacity I could. Like, um, but yeah, I like being around this stuff. I have meeting with people doing so much work. You would think they would be getting like millions of dollars of funding, and it's just like, I mean, and they get a great amount of support. And also, I think different things look different when you, depending on how big it gets. So, like some people like operating in their capacity and almost like in the setting they're in and not wanting to expand too much because they feel like it might take away from the integrity of their program or whatever, and they feel like they're in a good space, like, meanwhile
So you
maybe
think some people are like there's some groups that are intentionally not being spoken about out loud because they don't want that what happens when you get too big.
yeah, exactly,
Okay. Okay.
exactly.
That
And
makes
yeah,
sense.
that makes sense. I actually talked to the gentleman. He said the same thing. He's like he likes it like this. He's like, I feel like I get more done in that way, and people might get access to more in that way too. Like, I guess it depends on whatever you want, they want to do. But hey, like, I think however you do it, as long as it's benefiting young people in the community, it's all good.
Yeah. Uh that's like I don't know how to what was I doing? I was writing my statement letter, my letter of whatever, my whatever the letter I needed to write to go to grad school is.
Yeah.
And one of the questions, it like asked these questions. I should just bring them up, but it was like, what brought you to social work, um, and how will you pursue a practice that is anti-oppressive and social justice oriented? And to me, it was like it's hard for me to answer that question because like I don't like what we were talking about. We've talked about this before. We don't say our training is or the things that we do are anti-oppressive or DEI work. Like it just
Yeah.
inherently is. We don't need to call it that because like
Yeah.
that everything we do is centered around that, right? Like that's
Yeah.
not even centered around it. That's not what I mean to say. Everything we do that is built into it, right? We don't have to call out being diversity, equity, and inclusive
Yeah.
coaches. Every bit of how we operate and how we work in the world and how we like approach things is that. So
Yeah.
how do you describe what you're gonna do to do that? Like it's like I'm just gonna be me. What do you mean?
Yeah.
Like
Exactly.
I'm just
Yeah.
gonna continue to like be open minded and talk to people from all different kinds of walks of
From
life,
yeah.
work with people no matter where they come from or what kind of work they do. And it's not because I'm trying to be inclusive. It's because I am inherently
Yeah.
inclusive, right?
Yeah. It's just is part of is in it's within you. It's part of you.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be like so like, oh, you know what, today I'm gonna turn into this. It's just it's like
I just heard racism exists. I'm gonna go and try to fix that.
yeah.
So
Exactly. So
no, I'm just gonna like treat everyone like they matter and learn from their perspectives constantly.
exactly. Yeah, it's hard to. Yeah, a lot of it's hard to describe the stuff like you do sometimes because it just comes natural. And I think a lot of people don't recognize their gifts like that. You imagine
Hmm.
you do something it's so you, people see it in you. They're like, yo, I can't believe you're doing such good things, your talent and this. And sometimes it comes so natural that you don't even see it as a talent. And or you
Yeah,
don't see it as a gift. It's just
yeah.
like this is just I'm just doing this is easy. I'm just being who I am, and I think that's a good thing as well because it brings a humbleness behind that, I guess. So and I've seen people who just kind of seamlessly do things and and they don't even recognize it. I mean, you may even take it for granted because in that sense if you're not recognizing those gifts and those talents, people might exploit it because you're not respecting your own gifts and talents. And that happens a lot, right? You're not people you don't see it, then I'm gonna let me exploit the shit out of you because you're
Yeah,
not even recognizing your own value.
I think that's what capitalism is.
Yeah.
like,
Exactly.
like,
Even yeah.
go
You
ahead.
mean,
Even
look
what?
at the young people we like you may work with. Like I've seen them like seamlessly. Like these kids are not even trying. They even like say with music, they just go into the
Hmm.
without any musical training, without anything. They go into these studios or whatever, and just do their thing naturally. And they have zero respect for the gift that they have because they do it so easily. I guess after a while, when they get some type of notoriety and make the whatever money it comes with, then they start. All right, let me move differently. I can't move like this anymore. But in the beginning, they don't even see. Sometimes we don't even see the talent that we can offer the world because
Well,
it.
we get it taught out of us, right? Like when we go to school, which is where we spend most of our time as kids,
Yeah.
we get taught that only like 7 to 10 things matter, and almost none of them are your talents, right? I mean,
Yeah.
let me rephrase that. Yeah, almost none of them. A lot of them are based around how much you know a subject. So, like IQ is
Mhm.
is really important. Um, and then the rest of it, like maybe physical fitness is
Mhm.
up there. But then it starts dwindling down, right? Like what's
Yeah.
important, like how well you um, can negotiate in the world, right? Like,
Mhm. Yeah.
or how good you are at understanding other people's emotions. Those things start to not have as much value the
Yeah.
older we get. And like they're still important and they're useful tools that we can use, but we don't get told or taught how like those innate things to us are 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 really important.
Yeah, and those are gifts.
Yeah.
Like how much you can um like you said understand people
Hmm.
from an emotional standpoint point and actually navigate relationships or navigate community through that. Like that's not easy, but people may not see that or you may not recognize it or people are not given that as a they're not giving that or seeing that as something beneficial to society in that way. And then this kid might think, oh, I'm not good at anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Imagine that I'm not good at anything. Meanwhile, like you're like probably the top 1% in that area and you don't even
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We definitely we devalue like uh at least when we're going through school during our socialization process, we devalue our social skills and our life
Mhm.
skills
Yeah.
and our interpersonal skills. Because you can be aggressive and rude uh, and be more successful, quote unquote, successful in the world than if you are kind and caring. about like the environment or well, I mean, those types of things are changing, but like a person's environment, like their internal environment, or even caring about, I don't know, how much time it takes to do things. Like being good at knowing how long it takes to do something is a skill. Like I fail at that every time I try to schedule stuff. Like
Yeah,
I build a schedule. I'm like, oh yeah, this thing will take me 90 minutes, and this will take me an hour, and then I build out my whole day, and it turns out that like none of it was accurate, and I'm
yeah,
constantly behind. So
yeah. And it's okay, and it's also like okay to not be so great in other things, especially if you recognize the all the things that you are really good at.
mhm.
And then you could, you know what, hey, listen, if I was good at that, also, I'll just be walking around here being perfect. So I guess that's the balance of life
Yeah,
is
that's what
like,
brings the humility.
yeah, exactly. And also like even when you understanding that and giving grace to others, like, yeah, we may have friends that are just like bad at certain things and you get annoyed, but they've always been bad at certain things. But so why even like, yeah, why draw so much attention to it when you know this is what you're getting? But in other areas, that friend is like amazing, and that's one of the reasons why they're your friend, because of that reason. But we spend so much time paying attention to like certain things that you may not like instead of the actual things that brought you guys together, or whoever, he or she.
Yeah.
Like let's pay more attention to those good aspects, and how that contributes to your life rather than those negative aspects.
Yeah. Yeah. And just because they're negative to you doesn't mean they're negative to everyone else.
Exactly.
And also, like, if you're thinking about the things that annoy you about your friend, don't forget that you have things that annoy you about you, that
Exactly.
annoy your friends about you. I know that I
Exactly.
have, like, I'm, I, I think I'm less annoyed by people's like little things, right?
Yeah.
I'm more accepting than the average person. Uh,
Yeah.
but I do know exactly like what you're talking about when it comes to like, oh, I just can't stand that they do this. It's like,
Yeah. Like I know I just disappear sometimes. Like straight up, I've been doing that all the time. Like for some reason, like if I get to a point where I need my space, I just like straight up like I'm off the face of the earth. And then I show up like nothing happened. Like, but like I think that's just me rejuvenating myself and re-energizing or like whatever I had to deal with, and then
yeah,
I'm back. And so I know that's something that a lot of people like. This guy just like disappears. You know what I'm saying? Like, and they almost like wait for me like to disappear again because it's like that's like a pattern of disappearing. I don't know. I've been doing that for so
I
long.
don't
And
know.
I just come back and I'm like, yeah, what's good, man? I'm like, and there's no like almost no disconnect with like how I feel like towards people after. I just say, hey, I just need a break. What's the problem? But
Yeah, you feel like
people,
nothing happened.
yeah, it doesn't really like. But some people really feel like they feel away
Er,
because they're taking it they take it personal. I was like, this had nothing to do with you. This was just me. But I could get it. I get it though. I get
yeah,
it
yeah,
why
yeah.
people could take it personal because you automatically assume like um they may assume that they did something, but it had nothing to do. I just needed whatever. That's just maybe it's not the best way to whatever deal with whatever I deal with, but that's kind of something. I
If
know it makes
you,
me feel better when I take. That's all I know.
I feel better.
Yeah, it makes me feel better when I take these breaks. I don't know.
I think breaks are necessary, and I don't think you owe anyone an explanation unless it's like your kids, it's your
Exactly.
family.
Yeah, yeah, exactly,
Like, but
exactly.
other than that, like, well, you don't owe anyone
It's like
anything. That sounds like
exactly.
a real introverted thing to do. I kind of do that, except I would do it to people that I don't know. I guess yeah, I would do that to people that I was close with, like just stop talking to them
You
for
would
a
do the
little
same
bit,
thing. Yeah.
just
Yeah.
for a while. I feel like I feel a lot of emotions, and then when people get heavily emotional, at least when I was younger, I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Looking back, this is what it was. I didn't know that at the time, but looking back, I'm like, this is too much, and I don't have enough capacity to deal with this right now. So,
Yeah.
uh,
Yes. And also, I have the language around expressing that now. Like,
yeah.
listen, this is like before I didn't know. I was a young whatever. I just didn't know what I was feeling. I just knew I had
Hmm.
in me. I need to get the hell out of here. It's like
Hmm.
so.
Hmm.
However, like the path for me was to like get some alone time, and then I usually felt like better after doing that.
Yeah, that's
Um,
so you're an introvert is what
yeah, I'm
that means.
definitely that. I'm definitely an introvert. I always, yeah, yeah. That's just like no question about
I
that.
I think I learned when I was in my late 20s that I'm not an extrovert like I was always told. I got extrovert tendencies and I'm good at engaging, facilitating a lot of extroverted things, but like I would rather just be at home uh chilling with a couple of friends or something
Yeah,
than go out and be in crowds and constantly engaging, even though I'm really good at it. And I think I'm
yeah,
good at it because it's like a trauma response. It's like
yeah,
I had to be good at it because I had to make friends easily.
yeah,
But I definitely enjoy being like just at home in a quiet setting.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that's could be the same to me at times, but also I might like feel like going out and being in a social event and engaging in that way, but then it's like a time limit. It's like
Yeah.
when it hits like I don't even know. It's just like all right, let's go. You know what I'm saying? It's been like that as well. I just know there's like a internal threshold of like what I can absorb uh, for the day, and I just like my body tells like there's like a signal of like let's you gotta go now. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? And
yeah, yeah.
so
Yeah, those things are hard to learn, man. Hard to
yeah,
learn our superpowers, and that's one of them, right? Knowing what makes ourselves tick is a good superpower
yeah,
that we I don't think we get taught to learn. I was talking about like identity development with some what were they like clinicians, some social workers
mm.
yesterday. I did
Oh,
some training,
oh,
and part of the training was all about learning who we are and how that really helps when it comes to dealing with our own mental health and things like that, but b it helps us feel connected uh, to something, right? Like if we know who we are, we know what we enjoy, we know what makes us tick, we feel more connected, which I
oh.
guess that indirectly deals with our mental health. But like we don't get taught the any of the tools or any of the ways of figuring out that stuff. Like when we're
Yeah.
in school, most of what we're learning is like subject matter,
Hmm.
like English, maths, what history, maybe
Yeah.
history ties into a little bit of the identity development if it was taught accurately, which it's not.
Yeah.
So like we get nothing that helps us figure out, oh, this is who I am, this is what I'm good at, this is what I like, this is what I don't like. None of those tools come through when we're taking our 5 to 8 subjects.
Exactly. Exactly. And even though we kind of like within us like or inherently we know this because I think we have like our own like guides or our own GPS system and we feel when we're not acting in if we're not acting authentically of who we are like we feel something it's like I don't
Hmm.
really, and we're not taught that to use those um signals as ways to like bring us to like what we really want. And just because like your friends behave a certain way, you might have a friend that you're close to and they have their own likes and they navigate away. It doesn't mean that you that's what feels good to you or that's ultimately who you are. And I mean, even in school, like we're kind of taught like to conform with what everybody's doing. And
Mm-hmm.
that we talked about last week, a lot of it is like this identity crisis because we're leaning so much into conformity, and there's this big gap between um what we're doing and who we are,
Mm-hmm.
and that causes a like you said, the mental health issues that we see in society. But we're not taught to like they don't nobody's going to teach you to be authentic. Like people more going to teach you to conform, right? Your
Yeah.
parents, nobody's going to say, nobody's going to
Be
say like
yourself.
be yourself. Nobody's going to say that
They
because
say that, but they don't mean it.
yeah, because being yourself may not be something that the other person may like. So
Yeah.
with that, don't be yourself now. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
As soon
They'll
as
say be yourself until they don't like it. It's like, whoa, 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 whoa,
don't be
whoa, whoa. You better
exactly,
be who I tell you to be. You live under my roof.
exactly. So it's like even as moving to as adults is the same way, and how in communities it's like we say be yourself, but oftentimes when people be themselves, it you know it could be some like contrast. You may
Yeah.
not like what you see in that person, and I'm not talking about like a negative like thing. It's just maybe a preference. It may
Yeah.
be just a preference thing. you
Well,
know
it's that thing that you were talking about where like people get annoyed about things that other people do and
yeah
they only focus on that. Like there's always going to be something that annoys you about someone else. They
yeah
are like
yeah
there's stuff that annoys me about me. So like if you don't annoy yourself sometimes, you're probably arrogant and narcissistic. And if you only focus on what annoys you about other people's, you're probably arrogant and narcissistic, right? Like
yeah
if your only focus is what you dislike about other people, uh, then what you're
yeah
really focusing on is like everything being right for you.
exactly.
And I think you're right, like with educate, like when our school systems don't teach us those things, but I think they actively teach against them by teaching conformity. So I
Yeah,
wrote down our schools teach us to compete and to conform,
form, yeah, that's a
right?
big
So
one.
like we're competing for intelligence and grades, looks, who's got the coolest shit,
Yeah.
right? Like who gets the best stuff? That's what school teaches us is like if you get the best grades, you're the smartest. Or on the other end, on the playground, it teaches us whoever is the coolest is the leader, right? Like those are the things that we're
Yeah.
learning. So we're being taught to either, not to either, to both compete against other people, which is antithesis to like being yourself. Because if
Hmm.
you're yourself, you don't need to compete against anybody.
Yeah.
Like who the fuck am I competing against?
Exactly.
And and it teaches us to conform because if we don't fit into those molds, then we fail in the letter grade or
Yeah.
we're losers in the social world,
In
right?
social
Like
work.
that's all we
Yeah.
learn at school is competing and conforming. So it's we that's the what is that like? What am I thinking? Authenticity and like what's it an agency, I guess? Like your own
Mhm.
being your own person.
Yes.
Ooh, I just came up with two dope ones. Authenticity and agency versus competing and conforming.
Yeah. And if we truly were to be our true selves, or lean towards like a lot of our uniqueness, that's like your magic source. Like I
Mhm.
always say that the more I've moved towards being me, and I've seen it in others, that's where the uniqueness, that's where the creativity lies.
Mhm.
Um, because you're trying to be somebody else. Also, you just expend it. That's a lot of energy trying to be something you're not. It takes a lot of energy. Yes, you'll get through it, and but you're spending a lot of energy, and you got nothing left for creativity because most of your energy is going towards like trying to
Mhm.
resist. You're actually putting a wall up from who you are in order to be like this person that like everyone wants you to be, and that takes a lot of energy. Like I know that you drained, you're frustrated, um, like that might even go in, like you said, into mental health issues, because it's like it's too much. When you unlock that freedom and you unlock that side of you,
I think you mean
um,
unbar.
oh, when you're unbarred, exactly, and that's what like this has been about. When you're really unbarred, there's this like expansion that happens, and you're free, and you know and you just there's another, you could tap into something else, tap into that creative um energy that we all can tap into
Yeah,
if we
we gotta
choose to.
unbar ourselves
Yeah,
from the shackles and this social prison.
yeah,
I'm just trying
exactly,
to-
and bar
but for
ourselves.
real, right? We
Yeah,
have to unbar ourselves. We have to let ourselves be free. And our school system does not teach us that by any means.
the unbarred, and that's why we had to develop the unbarred curriculum, right? We had the unbarred curriculum that we really put out, minds towards. It's about that, like finding a path to unlock who we really are, setting ourselves free from like these norms of society, and this thing about conformity, which often keeps us trapped. So yeah.
Yeah. So like two people after the training that I did yesterday came up to me separate. Oh no, no. One person asked the question in the group, and then one person came up to me separately. So one person asked in the group, uh, if all things were equal, because we were talking about trauma, and um, she said, all things being equal, what would be the thing that helps teach resilience to young people? And I said, first off, there will never be an equal. Like we can't have that because people are so, there's just like, even if people were treated equally, we would have perspectives, right? Like everyone views
Yeah,
and interprets things differently. So there wouldn't be equal in that. And secondly, the 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 response to trauma is so is more than just people's responses. It's also like the types of traumas they see and things like that. So then the second person came up to me and asked me what was the one thing, or what is the thing that really helps um, people, or what makes people take something so traumatically, right? Like someone can experience something as terrible as being um, raped or homeless or abused, and someone could have their cat pass away, and they can experience trauma at the same level, right? Like they will experience the same.
yeah,
And his question was like, what how is that possible? What makes that happen? Or is there something wrong with a person who feels as traumatized that had their cat died? And I was like, there's nothing wrong with that person. Like, again, that's how perception is, right? Like
yeah,
people receive things way differently, but it's this idea of resilience that people are trying to get at. And my point was, it doesn't matter like what they perceive or what kind of trauma they've experienced or how many traumas they've experienced or any of that. What really matters is what tools they get to help them deal with that trauma.
yeah,
And we can never know what tools to give someone. We just have to give them as many tools as we can,
yeah,
right? Like
and let
everyone has
them
their own, yeah, and let them what
choose the tool
that
that
suits
works
them.
for. Yeah,
Yeah, and that's what Unbarred is, right? Like we just want
yeah,
to give people as many keys as possible, and then you try all the different keys that you want to try. Like first you unbar yourself, but
and then
unbarring yourself isn't the end, right? You still get
yeah,
to go
it's
open up all
simple.
these fucking doors that exist all around the world. So
Exactly.
we want to, or the universe or reality or whatever. So after you unbar yourself, you still got to go check out all these different doors that
Yeah,
exist.
and that's the thing about giving people, offering tools, is like, some people are like so bent on like telling people this is the tool that you can fix whatever, and that person's like, no, this doesn't resonate with me, or whatever. Whether
Hmm.
somebody say this religion is the tool and this doesn't resonate, but what about this? This doesn't resonate. Find whatever resonate. Nobody can tell you like this is the direction or this is that. Everybody has their own journey, and we gotta respect that. There's no one size fit all guide to life, So
Yeah.
I think like a lot of people want to force certain paths of like relief or whatever towards
Hmm.
people, and then you may try it doesn't work. I think we need to accept that and not like kind of like this is the only answer for you. And that, I think a lot of times, religion kind of does that or things like that.
Yeah. Or like what is that called? Alcoholics Anonymous. Like
Mm.
there's just one, what is it? Like one, like we don't talk about other ways of kicking addiction other than Alcoholics Anonymous. Like that's
Mm.
as far as that goes. Like if anyone has it, they're like, oh, you got to go to AA, and
Yeah,
I think AA has like something like a 50% success rate, if that. So like I don't know what success rate I don't know what success rate means when it comes to addiction, but I do know 50% is failing, right? Like if only 50% are passing, that's great for that 50%, but that means that
the other
there's
50
that half the people need something different,
different. They
right?
need to
Yeah,
find,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. There's
And that
got to
doesn't
be,
mean that model doesn't work. It doesn't work for that. Like so they
yes,
have to figure it out. And a lot of times we say it doesn't work because you failed. No, because like
yeah,
something wrong with you. No, maybe that doesn't work for who I am and for my journey and
ex-
from my experience and what I offer the world. Like we'll find something that suits you. Doesn't mean you're a failure.
yeah.
Yeah.
You can't be a failure if there's only one option for everything. Like,
Exactly.
when does one thing, like you just said, one size never fits all? Like, that's never true.
It was like you're a failure. This didn't work for you,
Yeah.
but it worked for me.
Like,
So you're doing something wrong.
yeah,
How
it's
about I'm just
either,
a whole different person? You know what
yeah.
I'm
Why isn't that true? Why is
saying?
that not an option? Well, why is
Exactly.
it, I'll take option B, I'm different than you.
Yeah. Exactly.
Hashtag built different. All right.
Exactly. I'm a whole different person. Like, let's not like think that we all operate life in the same way.
Yeah, we need different options, man. We need different tools, because the world is complicated, and the more I learn, the more complicated it gets.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
the more aware we become, the more pieces fit in, right?
Yeah.
Uh, the more things we have to pay attention to. So we need. There's what is it called? There's, I think police do it too, like 21st century policing. In the education world, there's like this big push to like give kids 21st century
Yeah.
skills. Like we have this
Yeah.
idea 21st century, right? Like
Celsius. Yeah.
where is this shit for everything else? We need 21st century shit, bro, because we still
Yeah.
out here operating like we're fucking cavemen and shit.
Yeah. That's what I said. I'm like, I look at like certain, like when I think about policing in this country, where I call it like flip phone policing, because we're like we're still using tools and strategies that are like ancient. Yes, I could make a call with this flip phone, but is it the most efficient, and effective way? And that's kind of how I think about like policing at times. We're like sometimes the only profession that says, "Oh, let's go back to 1990s way." It's like no, we're trying to be in the leading edge of safety and community. Like whatever's the leading edge, that's where I want to be at. I know
That's
if
where it
I'm going
should
back to
be.
the 90s, that's not the leading edge. You
That's
know what I'm
not,
saying?
bro. It doesn't make sense for our government agencies to be operating so antiquated to
Yeah.
everything, man. Like we have robots now. The least we can do is give every school and every police station, every police, like modern technology. At
Mhm.
the least, I know some places that are still writing things, and like you shouldn't even be at this point. We shouldn't even be using computers. We should be all in VR. Like every
Yeah.
kid should be learning digitally. Um,
Yeah.
also with like life skills instead of I don't know
Yeah,
why we're still learning calculus and and geometry
yeah,
as a basic. Like everyone is going to have to pay for something. How come I had my boy Steve, one of the first kids I worked with, Regina's son, he's now 21 or something like that. And I take him out. We go out to like eat and kick it every now and then. And he just straight up asked me, he's like, yo, what are taxes and what am I supposed to do with them? And I was like, and he's like, and I explained them to him, and he's like, no one taught me this. No,
yeah.
what the fuck? And I was
Exactly.
like, yeah, man, that's fucked up, isn't it? It's
Exactly.
like there's mandatory money that you have to give up and you have to do all the work, and no one even told you that you have to do this. So,
It's
or how to do it. Like,
exactly.
so he's like, what would have happened if I didn't do my taxes? And I was like, those motherfuckers will come for your
You
money,
go.
bro. They will
And
come for your money.
you really they really said don't even know. I think there's certain things like that that come on, like we should be integrating that because those are things that we need to know, and that's
Need to know, bro. This is a need to know
no,
basis.
yeah, exactly.
This is
For
how our government functions, and our
yeah,
government isn't teaching us
it
about this
gets
function.
bad because you ever hear these celebrities and people who are famous that like they don't even know about taxes and stuff until until like they make so much ridiculous money and they get like go in jail. What it's just ridiculous. Like these are stuff like we should be knowing during the course of the school. During
That's
our
way more important than calculus, bro.
yeah, I know like
Way more important than calculus.
exactly.
How
But
many people are going to be doing calculus versus how many people
man,
are going to have to balance a checkbook? Not a literal checkbook, but like
I know
open a
I took calculus one, two, pre-cal, and I don't think I ever had to use that. You know what I'm
no,
saying?
no,
I took all of that. I was
because you're not building rocket ships, bro. Our math is based on like what we needed when we were sending people to the moon, and now we're like, meanwhile, like the average
yeah.
person is going to make like 60,000, $50,000 a year,
Yeah.
if that, considering where the world's going. So they should definitely at least know how to like rent an apartment and manage a budget for. And by I say they, I mean we. I should know this by now, and I don't. I'm very bad at budgeting. I'm very bad at saving my money. I and I will continue to blame the public school system, even though I'm 36 years old. So
That's hilarious. I mean, listen, public schools. Um, I know somebody. Well, your friend that I met in Boston, we was talking about right that the public schools need to like push forward and evolve. Was it
Marcus,
Marcus? Yes, Marcus. I remember we had a nice conversation about that. He's on the leading edge of like whatever he's doing out there. I know. Well, at least in his mindset, whether he has the power to like change
in
over
his
there,
mind, he is.
I don't know. Like it takes a.
I will say, like, of all the places, Boston is supposedly number one in education in the country. I don't know
Yeah.
about the world, but they tend to be on the leading edge. But even in that leading edge, they're still far behind where we need it to be. Right, like
Yeah.
even on the leading edge, like I said, our kids should be doing coding as a class and
Oh
learning
yeah.
um like what's it called, financial literacy.
Mm.
And while there's elements of that happening, it's not happening at the rate it should be. Like,
I wonder why that's not because this is stuff like community's been asking for, like financial literacy. What is like I don't know the blocks of that. I don't know why it's like something that we're not like doing more. Like most kids when they doing like that type of class, they're like it's more like like after school or like their parents are like putting them in programming, maybe specialized programming that focus on that. But I would think there was more would be more buy-in for like those type of skill developments.
So, I mean, like, so if we talk specifically about financial literacy, uh, we don't we don't teach teachers to teach financial literacy. So
Mm,
already there's like a lack of that being even a subject that is taught. Uh, Secondly, it's like just hard to get us to change our subjects, right? It's hard to get us to change the
yeah,
standards of education in general, let alone build a workforce that can support that. So,
there's so much factors and like that going, and then change is just
and
so
also
hard.
people just don't care, right? Like communities care, but like the people that create our curriculum do not care whether we understand financial literacy or not.
Mm.
I mean, I don't know that they care about any of the subjects, to be frank, right? Like the people that write the textbooks, Texas, don't don't think about. I don't think they're thinking about what people need as skills to be
Yeah.
productive in the world, let alone the workforce. At one point, like the things we were teaching were important when we were working in factories and things like that. But now,
Yeah.
like our work is so modernized. Like we're not going to factories anymore. We're not going to
Hmm.
these big giant groups of just pools of people doing one task, one menial task or something like that.
Yeah.
We're so much more complex, and our education system hasn't kept up with either of the things we need, right? Like it hasn't kept up with us being more socially, emotionally aware and like psychology and sociology and understanding human development. And it also hasn't kept up with the changing workforce that we have. So
Yeah.
it's just behind.
Exactly. And with that being said, that's why we built out like the curriculum center for that stuff. So like, well, I'm happy with the stuff that we got going on, and hopefully we can share that um in due time. But I mean, we don't have the answers, but I think like just having these discussions and working towards whatever we can contribute to communities, that's all we can do.
Yeah, man. That's all I like doing. I'm not trying to do much more.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I'll do other stuff if people want to, but I like just like making stuff and working with people to make new stuff. But trying to
That's
change shit, bro, I'm so tired of trying to do that,
yeah,
bro.
yeah, or like having like conversations that are drawn out with people trying to shift their mindset is not it becomes useless too, because not that I don't mind like sharing, but when it comes combative, it's not, I don't think that's healthy, or I don't think it's worth it, because it doesn't really I've never seen anybody mindset change off an argument or like an exchange. Like I've
Hmm.
never, you're right, you know what, I'm gonna like remove all these ideologies that I have or beliefs and move towards what you're talking about. That doesn't happen unless you're just doing it just to do it. But like ultimately, if you're doing it to change people's minds, I don't think that usually works unless you enjoy doing it. But
Yeah.
I learned to be more accepting and more and just kind of do what I do, and that's it. Because I think we all allowed to have our different opinions, and that's okay.